We'll tell you who was there, and we'll show you what was left behind as the big cleanup goes on tonight.
Being the biggest political rally ever held in the United States.
And even though the June 12th rally attracted upwards of 800,000 people, it all went very, very smoothly because everybody didn't leave Central Park at the same time. There was no big crush of humanity on the way out tonight and no big traffic jams on the streets outside. Overall, police say it was an orderly crowd. No arrests, only some minor injuries. 10 kids were lost for a little while.
It's a new coming together of all kinds of people. That was an expression of a certain culture, but this is all people coming from all over the world to say the same thing, and it's not just a lifestyle question, it's a life question, and that's the difference.
Judith and her husband Orman drove 2 days from Canada to get here. Others took a bus, like Martha McLeany of Baltimore. You look tired already.
Yeah.
Officials at the UN say that if one nuclear bomb were dropped here in Central Park on a normal day, almost 8 million people would die.
This is life. This isn't political. This is about the future of life.
I think this is it. If we don't stop this, we've had it.
I think this is the most exciting thing that's happened in a long time.
Well, everyone seemed very calm and peaceful and very positive. I think that was a really good sign.
Call it an inspirational day.
Exceptionally so. 1 million people and no problems.
The last time Americans took to the streets like this, it was to stop a war, the Vietnam War, in which 55,000 U.S. soldiers were killed. They're here today to prevent a war, a nuclear war in which millions of civilians would be killed, and the fate of the earth itself might hang in the balance. Marilyn Berger, ABC News, New York.
Rallying for peace. On, work crews began the process of dismantling the grandstand stage that served as the focal point of the day's activities.
More who didn't march, but came to stand or sit in statement. Today's young alongside the now aging activists of the 60s. From the giant loudspeakers, the music of Taylor, Browne, Baez, Seeger mixes with the anti-nuke, anti-Reagan rhetoric of the speakers. A carnival, a political rally, but yet a near spiritual experience. The godlike voice of Orson Welles began the rally by saying it's already late.
Now we're reaching the 11th hour, and what is truly shaking a little sense into us is the realization of what our true place was meant to be in this lovely, fragile habitation.
Find out who their congressmen are, write them letters, find out who the candidates are that are supporting the freeze.
It's really a racial issue, the human racial issue.
Possibly never been here before. People willing to realize the fact of nuclear weapons and how our lives depend on whether or not we get rid of them.
It was a happy crowd for so somber a purpose, to call the world's attention to the dread prospect of nuclear destruction. But the cheers were for the entertainers, the Linda Rondstatts, the James Taylors, and the Jackson Brownes. The high spirits seemed to reflect something more, a conviction that what all these people were doing would really have an impact. Thousands to make their voices heard. So, quite unintentionally, the anti-nuclear movement, with speakers blasting the Reagan administration, was also making a statement about what sort of people we are. People who regard freedom of thought and expression as natural as breathing. A way of life vitally worth preserving from nuclear threats or any other kind of threats.
And never mind your fears, 'cause brighter days will soon be here. So take it from me, someday we'll all be free.
Interspersed among the musical groups were a series of speeches by a wide range of different groups, people like Linda Rondstadt. It's nevertheless true that the Central Park Rally has focused attention on many of the complex and confusing issues that surround nuclear war. Rallies like this can serve as unconventional educational forums for the greatly debated issues of the day. And a speech that drew thunderous applause came from another scientist.
On a rattlesnake speedway in the Utah desert, I'd pick up my money, head back into town, driving across the Waynesboro County line. I got
The music celebrated the gathering, but the seriousness of its concerns remained as a theme throughout the afternoon, and as a theme that will continue on after the great June 12th rally. In the halls of the United Nations and the corridors of the superpowers, there is a newly intense worldwide threat about the problems of nuclear weapons. There are suggestions cropping up all over the world. There are proposals for nuclear-free zones. There are proposals for reciprocal nuclear-free zones between cities and towns in nuclear power nations. In Congress, a bill is being prepared suggesting that the children of Soviet and American leaders be exchanged between Moscow and Washington as a kind of cultural hostage program. There are suggestions that some single nation should begin by symbolically dismantling just one bomb. In the United Nations, there has been a call for a no first strike declaration by all 5 nuclear powers. There is an effort to stop the building of bigger bombs, or better bombs, or smaller bombs that could no longer be verified even if a disarmament treaty were signed. These concerns are perhaps best exemplified in the passionate speeches of Dr. Helen Caldecott.
Most likely first to respond to this worldwide disarmament movement.
Well, China said in the United Nations yesterday it was prepared to start moving. That's amazing. I don't know where they're going, but I think if the popular movement continues with its exponential growth here, America will. And I think Russia will copy and follow, as it has in the build-up, it will copy and follow in the disarmament.
Do you think there is any hope that the recommendation during the Sri Lanka speech that all 5 nuclear nations should jointly or independently declare a no first strike intention? Do you think anything's going to
I think that's a good idea, but it's not nearly enough. We've got 50,000 nuclear weapons deployed around the world. There are only 1,000 targets in the Soviet Union and in America. And you know, the overkill is so redundant, it's obscene, and no first use. You know, in the pitch of a battle like the Falklands or in the fever of the Middle East, who's going to guarantee that a leader might lose a little bit of his cool and use one of these weapons?